Hello friends. In this video you will be able to see how to install Windows 11 without USB if you only have Pop! OS on your disk. The video is from the series How to Install Windows 11 without USB switch from Linux, so if you are interested in another distribution, look in the video description. I wish you a pleasant viewing. I have installed Pop! OS with the option to use the entire disk and the Cosmic desktop environment. The first thing we will do here is to download the Windows 11 ISO file from the official Microsoft website. On the Microsoft download page, search for and download the disk image ISO file. While we wait for the Windows ISO file to finish downloading, we will also download another tool that we will need, and that is Grub.fm. In the search results for Grub.fm, open the GitHub page for a1ev/grub2 file manager. On this page, search for the latest release and download the version in your preferred language. In general, the language does not matter much because we will use Grub.fm to boot the Windows installation. The next tool we need to download is Gparted Live. Search the web for Gparted Live and download the ISO file from the Gparted SourceForge page. Wait for the download to complete. When the download is complete, move on to the next step, which is to open and add the necessary tools to the EFI. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a way to open Cosmic files as an administrator, so we'll use GNOME Files. GNOME Files is available for installation in the Cosmic store, so search for the files and install them. When the installation of GNOME Files is complete, you will be able to find them in the Utilities Applications section. To open your EFI as an administrator, in the Files address bar, type admin, // then press Enter. Enter your password and in the next window open the boot folder. Now open the EFI folder and in the next window you will see another EFI folder that you need to open. We have reached the folder where we need to create two new folders. The first one I will name Grub.fm and it will serve us for the files of the Grub file manager. The second one is named Gparted and there I will place the Gparted ISO file that I downloaded. When you create the two new folders, open the Downloads folder and unzip the downloaded Grub.fm file. Installing Grub.fm consists of copying a specific file from the zip archive into the Grub.fm folder that we created. From the extracted folder, I will copy the file grub.fmx64.fe and then place it in the Grub.fm folder. Once you are ready, copy the Gparted ISO file into the Gparted folder we created. Wait for the copying to complete and proceed to the next step. The next step is to install the refined boot manager. We will do this using the terminal because it is the most reliable way. In the terminal, type sudo apt install refined. Press enter and then enter your password. Now confirm with Y or just press enter. Press enter again. Now the refined files are installed, but to see them you need to refresh the EFI folder. We still have a little work to do with the terminal and we need to enter the command, sudo refind-install. This command sets refind to boot by default, so when we restart the computer it will boot directly. When you are done, close the open windows and restart the computer. Now is the time to explain why I installed the Refind Boot Manager. To boot the Grub File Manager, we had to create a UEFI boot entry, which is more complicated. However, Refind automatically finds boot files wherever they are on the disk, so it will only serve us to boot the Grub File Manager. How to recognize which icon is for the boot entry of the Grub File Manager since currently all three icons are the same. Under each icon is listed the file that is launched, so you should launch grubfmx64.fe, so you have to launch it. When the Grub File Manager loads, select Partition 1. This is the EFI partition where we place the Grub File Manager and the gparted ISO file. Navigate to the gparted ISO file and select it. Now select the option to boot Debian from ISO file. Here first select the option to overlay Clonezilla or parted, then simply press enter on the Debian Live option and the boot will begin. Now confirm with enter. Confirm with enter 3 more times and wait for gparted to load. What we need to do with gparted is to shrink the PopOS root partition. We do it here because the partition has an ext4 file system and when mounted this is impossible. With a BTR file system, the shrinking can be done directly in PopOS, so if you have installed PopOS on a BTR file system you cannot use gparted live. Anyway, let's continue with shrinking the root partition. The root partition is the largest partition, and to shrink it right-click on it and select Resize or Move. Now by dragging shrink the partition from its right side, which is actually the end of the partition. Free up about 100,000 megabytes, which is about 10 gigabytes. Once you are done, press Resize or Move and then apply the changes. The next step is to create a new partition where we will then place the Windows installation files. Right-click on the free space and select New. Now select the exFAT file system and label it win_install. When you are done, press Add and then apply the changes. This was the last step in gparted live. When you are done, reboot your computer and boot into PopOS again. When PopOS loads, open GNOME files and select other locations. Open the win_install partition and in a new window the Downloads folder where the Windows ISO file is located. Now mount the Windows ISO file by right-clicking, selecting Open With, and then selecting Disk Image Mounter. Open the mounted Windows ISO file, copy all the files from it and paste them into the win_install partition. Wait for the copying to complete and when everything is ready, close all open windows and restart your computer. Now is the time to back up all your important files because in the next steps PopOS will be removed from your computer and you will only have Windows 11. When your computer restarts, select and launch the Grub File Manager again. When the Grub File Manager loads, press F3. This is the option that will show you all the UEFI boot entries on your computer. Select the boot entry from the partition win_install and wait for the Windows installation files to load. The first steps of the installation process are to select the installation language, the keyboard you will use, and its layout. On the next window, you must accept that Windows will be installed on your computer, and here you can also switch to the old version of the Windows installer. Enter your product key here, if you have one, or continue with I don't have a product key. Now select the version of Windows for which your product key is or you want to install. On this window, you can read the license terms and then continue. We have reached the most important part of the installation, where we need to specify where to install Windows. The most important thing here is not to accidentally delete the partition with the installation files, which in my case is labeled win_install, and also not to delete the last partition after it. We will do that later. When you are ready, select the unallocated space and continue with Next. In the next window, click Install and the installation will begin. Overall, after completing this process, you will have Windows installed on your computer. You will then need to complete the post-installation process. I won't show the post-installation in real time because it's a really long process with multiple reboots, updates, and additional settings, so in the following footage you'll see the entire process, but at many of the stages the video footage will be sped up. After the actual Windows installation that just finished, the computer will restart automatically. So far everything has happened automatically, but now we have reached the point where you must first select your country or region. Now you can add another keyboard layout, as I will do by adding a Bulgarian keyboard layout. Now enter the name you want for your computer. Here, select the purpose for which you will use the computer. In the next few minutes you must wait for more updates and settings to be downloaded and installed. We have reached the point where you must log into your Microsoft account, and if you do not have one, use the option to create one. Enter the PIN with which you will log into Windows. Now select your privacy preferences. If you have any backups in OneDrive of the account you are using, they will be restored to your computer. There are still a few annoying settings with Microsoft suggestions, which of course you can accept or decline. This is the time to express my opinion that this is the most annoying Windows installer. I like Windows despite everything, but the increasing intrusion of applications and features in the installer disappoints me. But anyway, this is my opinion, and let's continue with a very important part of this video. Now that I have Windows 11 on my computer, I want to show you how to organize your disk the right way. To do this, I will download the Mini Tool Partition Wizard application, which I have been using for a long time. After downloading Mini Tool Partition Wizard, you need to install it. The process is easy and you just have to follow it. Please excuse the resolution change and the momentary interruptions, but Windows was automatically updating the drivers while I was filming this process. So I had to fix the resolution. What you need to do after installing and running Mini Tool Partition Wizard. I want to remove the partition with the Windows installation files and the swap partition, and then add this space to drive C. To do this, I will first delete these two partitions. Next, I need to move the Windows recovery partition to the end of the disk. It is very important to be careful and not to enlarge or shrink the Windows recovery partition. Just drag it to the end of the disk and then apply the changes. Now the free space is right after drive C and I can add it to it. However, I will not use Mini Tool Partition Wizard for this, but Windows Disk Manager. The reason for this is that if I use Mini Tool Partition Wizard, I will have to restart the computer, while with Windows Disk Manager it happens instantly. In Windows Disk Manager, right-click on the C partition and select Extend Volume. On the next Windows, continue without changing anything and finish the process. And that's all. Now there is no trace of Pop! OS on my computer, and I did this without using a USB device. I wish you the whole process to go smoothly as it did for me. If you still don't understand something, don't hesitate to write in the comments, and if it is within my capabilities, I will try to help you. Thank you for watching and see you soon.